Ladders to God. Prayer reweaves the rent fabric of the universe. It releases us, in time, from the snares of lower energies. Total dependence on God makes us independent of the darkness of the world. No problem is too big or small, no question too important or unimportant to place in His hands. We don't ask God for too much. In fact, we ask Him for far too little. Turn to Him for everything. Give everything to God. The mistake many people make is that although they believe in Him, they do not intimately include Him in their lives. Prayer and meditation reconnect us with our source. We have gradually become so disassociated from nature, including our own inner nature, that we tend to perceive ourselves as separate from our own ground of being. Spirit is the essence of who we are, the divine energy that permeates all life. To defer to God, to appeal to Him, is to humble our mortal, limited souls before the force of consciousness at the center of all things. And so we embark upon the ways of a prayerful life. Prayer is where we talk to God, stake claim to His thought forms, and honor His power to heal us. Prayerful ways are not always easy, for our resistance is great. We have been deluded by the thinking of an arrogant world. Prayer roots us in a different center of emotional gravity. It represents a true conversion from sourcing power in one place to sourcing it in another. It is the spiritualization of our mental habits and the disciplining of our scattered minds. That is why it gives us so much strength. Prayers increases our faith in the power of good and thus our power to invoke it. Most of us have more faith in the power of AIDS to kill us than we have faith in God to heal us and make us whole. We have more faith in the power of violence to destroy us than we have faith in the power of love to restore us. Where we place our faith, there we will find our treasure. Whatever we choose to look at, we will see. Prayer is a way of focusing our eyes. Our goal is to bring our lives to prayer. Emotionally, there are no small issues. Anything has the power to hurt if our mind is vicious enough to use it against us. A torn shirt can drive us to tears if it reminds us enough of a day in third grade when we felt like our clothes weren't adequate. A small, careless word from someone can trigger a torrent of painful feelings. It is these small, insidious moments of pain that God can cast out, but that we alone cannot. Hurt children, their wounds unhealed, too often become very dangerous adults. We spiritually reconstitute our lives by asking Him to enter us. We ask Him into every situation, to alchemize our thoughts and emotions, to change dramatically our orientation. The ways of prayerfulness are a modulation up from a mode of despair to a mode of hope. A desperate outlook is a choice we make. Peace is simply another one. Our prayer is for our hearts to stretch to the point of total openness, to radical acceptance and love of others. The path of the pilgrim is the path to a heart that expands and does not constrict. That doesn't mean we won't have sorrowful days. But if there is sorrow, we want sorrow that matters. Both sorrow and joy can stretch us and hone us. The issue is not whether our day is easy, but whether we spend it with an open heart. We use prayer to redesign our lives. We use it to get our minds, and therefore our lives, back on track. After that, we use it to stay there. Dear God, please handle this or that is a prayer for perfection. It means, please infuse my contribution to this situation with your wisdom and your power. Shed your light. If there is a lack of perfect unfoldment here, I want whatever blocks are in my mind that contribute to this problem to be revealed to me and removed. Deliver all darkness to the nothingness from whence it came. With this attitudinal shift, we change the paradigm that now rules the world. Just as we used to think that the earth was the center of external power and then found out that the sun is, we have been thinking that man's ego is the center of internal power, and at last we're remembering that God is. Of course, this is blasphemy to the ego. It robs it of its power. But the ego has never given us anything but the illusion of power in our lives. Our choice is to be slaves to the ego or actualized children of God. God shares his power with us to the extent to which we acknowledge him as source. That is not because he has an ego, by the way. It is because without that conscious acknowledgement, the subconscious mind remains confused about which master it is supposed to serve. Prayer programs divine guidance into the mental computer. It is not an abdication of personal responsibility, but rather a profound taking of responsibility, the ultimate step toward our full divine empowerment on earth. Ancient wisdom, then, is modern wisdom. Humanity's fall from grace means humanity's predilection for thinking the meanest, most fearful, least loving thoughts. The thoughts of God are the thoughts of the Most High, while the thoughts of the fallen human race are thoughts most low. Paradise is the realm of higher thought, and prayer is our ladder back up there. Prayer is something we do. To say a prayer is more than just to think about God. A prayerful attitude is powerful, but the actual utterance of a prayer, silently or aloud, increases the subconscious power of communion with God. In this sense, prayer is God's greatest gift to us, for it is the key to his house. I once read in an essay on Buddhism that nothing is so fragile as action without prayer. Prayer aligns our internal energies with truth in a way that mere action cannot. Events ultimately unfold according to subconscious rather than conscious programming, and prayer is a way of healing and releasing the subconscious mind. When we pray that God take a situation into his hands, we are praying for two things. One, that events unfold at the highest vibration of love for all human beings touched in a way by a situation, now and forever. And two, that our minds remain aligned with truth. If things go well, we pray that we not be tempted to get cocky, proud, or to take success for granted. If things do not go well, we pray that we not be tempted to think the jury is ever in until we see God smiling. It is only giving in to defeat that ultimately brings defeat. Initial rejection or disappointment does not mean that God is saying no. It means we're being given the opportunity to see past a crucifixion and to attitudinally invoke resurrection. Prayer gives us the strength to endure, the tools to make miracles. The purpose of prayer is to bring heaven and earth together. It gives inner peace in ways that neither intellectual understanding, credentials, money, sex, drugs, houses, clothes, nor any other gifts of the world can do. We can learn to speak to God as we would speak to a combination therapist, lover, teacher, best friend, one we trust more than anything, one who loves us no matter what, one with all the power to heal, one with the power and desire to help. For that's what God is. Prayer work is as constant and consistent conversation with Him. God listens and He answers. His answer is always peace. Prayer gives us access to a sweeter, more abundant life. The intellect gives many things, but ultimately it cannot give comfort. No conventional therapy can release us from a deep and abiding psychic pain. Through prayer, we find what we cannot find elsewhere, a peace that is not of this world.